Welcome back, everyone. Get ready because today's Coaching Explainer is absolutely going to change how we approach our daily lives. I'm so thrilled to have you all here. As a productivity coach, I hear it literally all the time from my clients. That intense frustration of setting a massive, life-changing target only to fall short and feel like a total failure. Right? We've all been there. But here is the most inspiring truth we're going to uncover together today. If you're failing to hit your targets, it isn't your fault. It's your system. Today, we are going to completely rewire how we think about success, moving away from relying on exhausting willpower and towards effortless, automated daily action.
So here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We're covering 1. The myth of big goals. 2. Systems dictate your success. 3. Building the habit loop. 4. Designing default environments. 5. Improvement by subtraction. And finally, 6. Moving from routine to ritual. Let's get right into it.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the myth of big goals.
The sheer scale of this problem is pretty fascinating. Research actually shows that setting targets so ambitious that only a fraction of people can reach them has a 90% failure rate built right into it. 90%! And the damage goes way beyond just missing a target. When you fail a big goal, your mood drops, your self-esteem takes a serious hit, and your overall motivation measurably declines. So the goal didn't just fail, it actually made your very next attempt less likely to succeed.
Instead of trying to make these massive, exhausting leaps, take a look at this curve. This is the aggregation of marginal gains. Back in 2010, Dave Brailsford took over British professional cycling. At that point, no British cyclist had ever won the Tour de France. But Brailsford didn't come in and set some massive, intimidating goal. Instead, he just aggressively optimized tiny 1% details. They tested massage gels, they brought their own ideal pillows to hotels, they literally even taught riders the absolute best way to wash their hands to avoid minor infections. He originally thought it would take 5 years to win. Well, they won in 3. And they absolutely dominated the Olympics too. To put that into perspective, over time, just a 1% daily improvement compounds into a massive, unbridgeable gap between you and your competition.
That brings us perfectly to Section 2, Systems dictate your success.
To replicate that kind of incredible success in our own lives, we need a profound mindset shift. Think about it. A goal is a fixed outcome. When you set a goal, you are basically putting yourself in a permanent state of failure until the exact moment you finally achieve it. And once you do hit it, what keeps you going? Systems, on the other hand, are daily processes. They're built on a mindset of continuous refinement. With a well-designed system, you are successful every single day you apply it. You aren't fighting constant discouragement, you are winning daily.
Author James Clear perfectly captures the balance here. Think of your life kind of like a rowboat. The goal is simply your rudder. It gives you a broad direction so you aren't just spinning around in circles. But the system? The system is the paddles. It's the actual physical work that moves you forward through the water. You can steer all day long, but without the paddles, you're going absolutely nowhere.
Let's move on to Section 3, building the habit loop.
Okay, first, let's dispel a very popular myth. You've probably heard it takes 21 days to form a habit. Well, actually, scratch that. That whole idea comes from anecdotal evidence about plastic surgery patients adjusting to their new faces way back in the 1960s. So unless you're recovering from a nose job, real psychological research shows it actually takes an average of 66 days for a new behavior to hit peak automaticity. So please, don't get discouraged at day 30. Your brain is quite literally still wiring the connection. Keep going.
So here is exactly how that wiring happens. The habit loop consists of 3 concrete steps. First, the cue. This is the trigger, a specific time or place that tells your brain to drop into automatic mode. Second, the routine. This is the action itself, and it should start as a really small, highly actionable chunk. Don't overcomplicate it. Third, the reward. This gives your brain enjoyable feedback, signaling, hey, this loop is worth remembering and repeating for the future. Through this associative learning, a forced, conscious effort slowly becomes a totally automatic response.
To build a truly bulletproof cue, we use what's called implementation intentions. Don't just say, I want to exercise more. That's way too vague. Use this exact formula. If specific time and place, then I will specific action. For example, if it is Monday morning and I have finished my coffee, then I will walk for 20 minutes. Or if I have lunch at home, I will have a piece of fruit. Research proves that these specific, concrete triggers practically triple your chances of actually following through. It's a real game changer.
Now for Section 4, Designing Default Decision Environments.
This brings us to a really fascinating concept called choice architecture. Listen, often we buy things not because of what they are, but simply because of where they are. For example, a massive 45% of Coca-Cola sales come from end-of-aisle displays. Why? Simply because they're the most visible default option. Something has to be at eye level, right? Something has to be the default. And right now, retail stores and tech companies are designing those exact defaults to serve their goals, not yours.
So look at your own environment right now. Is it designed for you by someone else? If your phone is sitting next to your bed, scrolling social media is your default. If your couch faces the TV, watching TV is the default. As your coach, I challenge you to start identifying and proactively engineering these daily default decision environments. Build a life designed by you. Put a water bottle at your desk. Leave the phone in another room entirely. Put the floss right next to your toothbrush. Stop relying on sheer willpower and make the right choice the absolute easiest choice in the room.
Moving right along to Section 5, Improvement by Subtraction.
Look at these two paths. We all naturally want to chase the upside and do more great work. But back in the 1970s, Japanese television manufacturers completely crushed their American competitors. And they didn't do it by working harder or finding smarter engineers. They simply applied lean production. They streamlined their workspaces so workers didn't have to twist and reach for tools. They improved simply by eliminating tiny errors and waste. They chose option 2, do less bad work.
And this applies to the highest stakes imaginable, too. In 2004, Michigan hospitals tested this simple 5-step checklist for intensive care units. It is shockingly basic. Wash hands, clean skin, use drapes, wear mask, put on a dressing. Doctors obviously already knew this, but because they were relying purely on memory, they were skipping steps in a third of patients. By forcing doctors to follow this checklist and literally just stop skipping steps, they saved 1,500 lives and $75 million in just 18 months. Never undervalue old solutions applied consistently.
We can use this exact subtraction method to fuel something called habit creep. You've probably heard of lifestyle creep, right? Where making more money slowly leads to buying more expensive things until luxury just feels normal. Well, habit creep is the positive version of that. By subtracting small distractions from your environment week after week and adding tiny positive actions, you continuously elevate your baseline. You aren't forcing some massive, exhausting change. You're just letting a higher level of performance slowly become your standard, everyday normal.
And finally, Section 6, moving from routine to ritual. It's absolutely crucial to understand the difference between a routine and a ritual. A routine is just an action that needs to get done, like taking a shower or making the bed. You're focused purely on completion, just checking the box. But a ritual is highly intentional. It's elevated. When you perform a ritual, you're deeply focused on the experience itself, investing your highest levels of energy and consciousness into that very moment.
And here is the real secret. You do not need to block out an hour for meditation to find mindfulness. You can just ride the intentionality curve. You can take a basic daily routine and instantly turn it into a ritual just by making mental space for it. When you eat, chew slowly and focus entirely on the texture and flavor. When you shower, focus on the sensation of the water on your skin. Break that autopilot loop. You can scale your consciousness up or down, turning mundane moments into meaningful daily rituals.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. So, I have a question for you. What is one tiny 1% default decision you can physically change in your room right now so the right choice becomes the easiest choice? Change your system today and your goals will inevitably take care of themselves. But it leaves us with a much deeper question to ponder. If your environment is currently designed to make you fail, whose goals are you actually serving every single day? Think about it, and I'll see you next time.